You have a handout that gives a list of all of those loan programs, and Patricia's just going to briefly review each one of those with you, all right? And do you mind, you can clip this on you. You can just hold that or let it sit there. Oh, perfect. Got a pocket, and then just clip that on your lapel.
Do we want to take a break or no? Go. Okay. All right, everybody. Hold on, I gotta find my glasses. No, this is good. Okay, just to save a little bit of time for you to be able to maybe ask questions again, because obviously the NAP program is the hot topic here. I'm just gonna, I had a PowerPoint, it was, I don't know, 40 pages. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna go over the lending just because it's easier for me, and my partnering agency, Mark Yarick, is gonna kind of go in depth about our lending because he helps package up our loans. So at the very beginning, the paper looks like this, and at the very beginning it is, and I don't have a PowerPoint of this sheet or I'd put it up. And so the very first loan on there is a farm ownership loan. FSA will finance if you want to buy a farm. Now with oysters, that's a little different because all of you are out in the water and you're leasing that area. So I won't go in depth about the farm ownership, but if you are farming cows or whatever on the land, you know, livestock, whatever, row crop, we do those loans. We do them up to $600,000. That has just been increased with the 2018 Farm Bill. It was $300,000, now it's $600,000. We can term up to 40 years for that lending. The second one is a farm ownership participation loan, and what we do is we do lending with your banker. Farm Credit is one of our lenders that we participate with. We do part of the lending. Your commercial lender does the other part of the lending. The caveat for doing that is a couple of things. We like for you to build your relationship with your commercial lender. That's one of the reasons why we do this program. And the second reason is we have an extremely cheap interest rate for the FSA portion of the loan. It can be 1.5%, it can be 2.5%, so there's different levels of this type of participation loan.
What determines that level?
We have beginning farmer is 1.5, and there's some eligibilities to meet that. If you participate with a lender and the lender does 50% of the loan, then you get 2.5%. With the FSA portion. Now their portion is going to be whatever their rules and regulations are, okay? And then we can loan, in those cases, in the participation loans, we can loan up to $600,000. So that would be a $1.2 million loan if they were doing half of the loan, okay? So if we're doing a $100,000 loan, we would do $50,000 and they would do $50,000. The next is a micro loan for farm ownership. It's up to $50,000. It's a very small loan. I've actually never done one, so I'm not going to elaborate. It's just a $50,000 or less loan. The next this is another farm ownership loan participation program that's called the Direct Downpayment Farm Ownership. This is where you work with the lender. The lender does 50%, FSA does 45%. And then you put 5 down in cash. That's when you get your 1.5%. You must be a socially disadvantaged farmer. You must, or a beginning farmer, or a veteran. So that it's limited to those classifications. Yes, sir.
Beginner farmer, how long is that till?
10 years or less. You've been filing a Schedule F 10 years or less, or you've been farming 10 years or less. That's what's considered a beginning farmer. The biggest one I think that you would be interested in is this last one on the bottom, which is a direct operating loan. That is up to $400,000. That is the, we have two different types. We have an annual operating type loan, which is 12 months. Well, it can go up to 18 months, but it's for your operating expenses, your fuel, your labor, anything that's expendable within 12 months. That falls under this particular type of lending. And then we have also under this type of lending where if you say you wanted to buy a boat, a Carolina skiff, you needed to retrofit it and do all of those things, and it costs $25,000. We would be able to loan you money under this particular loan program, term it out up to 7 years, depending on the useful life of the collateral, you know how all that goes. And those loans can be up to $400,000.
I'm sorry, and I'm in this process right now. But when we first applied, because we wanted to include the boat or certain things, but we were put into like the micro loan.
Okay.
So we were said no more than 50,000. What determines which type of loan you can get?
Okay, okay, what she's asking is what determines the $50,000 micro loan under the micro loan program, and what determines $50,000 under just the regular operating program. And a lot of it has to do with how long you've been in the business. If you're a brand new farmer, sometimes you know, depending on your experience and such, we don't want to expose you for a lot of money and put you at a risk where you can, you know, those kind of things. And that would be the micro loan on the flip side is what she's talking about over there. So let's go back to this direct operating loan. I'm just going to go over a couple of other things that covers that. The training, where you go through TCC and have the $300 training, 3 or 4 month training. It covers that. It covers closing costs, tools. If you need to get a new screen, or retrofit your boat to put a screen on your boat, it'll cover that. It covers the cages. It covers the structure that holds the cages. So there's a lot of things that cover under this particular type of lending, which is the bottom one, the direct operating loan for your industry would help. Bags, you know, spat, that would be another, those kind of things. So, does anybody have any questions so far? Because that's really the main lending that we do, these other types of lending. On the back side, this easy guarantee. We do have guaranteed lending, and let me just touch on that just a little bit. When you go to your commercial lender, say you go to Capital City Bank, and Capital City Bank's never done an oyster loan, and they say, okay, Mr. Smith, we're going to loan you $50,000, but we're going to put an FSA guarantee on that loan up to 90%. So in other words, FSA, us, will guarantee the loss of that loan up to 90% for Capital City. That's called a loan guarantee. You don't come to FSA for it. What you actually do is you go to Capital City, you apply for the lending, you mention it to Capital City would probably, or Farm Credit or whoever, whichever lender you use, would say, we're gonna do this guarantee because we're trying to minimize our risk. So this is a program that the lenders are using a lot for agricultural enterprises. So USDA guaranteed lending. So we've got all these different type of guarantees. We have an easy guarantee. Nothing is easy in the government. I don't care what they say. So just scratch that. Farm ownership guarantee. We have an operating loan guarantee. We've got a conservation loan guarantee, land contract guarantee. So if you have a lender that wants to do some special lending, FSA can do some guarantees on it, which minimizes their risks, allows them to give you lending when you couldn't get it in normal circumstances otherwise. So, and I think that's about it.
I'm sorry, this may be more a question for Mark, but I mean, you may, the new environmental consultant, we're in the water.
Right. You know, environmentally, I've only done one oyster loan. So and I have a program tech that handles that, and I don't think it's a big problem. We just got to go through some hoops. It's not a problem. So Jim Boyd, our farm loan manager, my farm loan manager, is saying environmentally, this is not an issue. And just to give some historic information about the environmentals, the prior administration passed some laws nationally, and Congress passed some laws of environmentally, if you get a USDA loan or benefit, you have to meet all these environmental requirements. Well, they're just now starting to implement these things, and they're coming out. So if you disturb the land line, and there's all kinds of different issues. But for oysters, I think we're good. I think that from what Mr. Boyd's telling me.
Understand under all this, everything
I have another
has to be what
question.
we call feasible. You'll do a cash flow. We're looking from a bank. You'll do a cash flow that shows feasibility and ability to pay them. So that's different, but we'll help you through.
Okay. Question?
I don't have that schedule of loans but for the direct. It's micro.
The micro, the 50,000 or less, yes. The reason why they implemented this is because our paperwork is so arduous that they said, okay, we're going to do a micro loan that has less paperwork, and it does to an extent, but if you're going to have a relationship with FSA lending, we usually just get that paperwork up front so that we don't have to do it in arrears. And so, but it is supposed to be a more simplified process.
Natalie, do you have any questions? I see you typing stuff. All right, here's the information chart here. You can get a copy. All of this will be put online at shellfish.itis.ufl.edu. There's a brochure in the back.
Leslie, I did want to, before,
Yeah, I know.
one other thing, there's I have this printout which has draft across it, has just a breakdown of each of the loans that we talked about. It kind of describes. So if you want to pick one of these up and kind of study it, and if you have any questions, call us. We'll be glad to set up an appointment with you and explain in more detail.